Welcome to the T-roh Show. Transmitting truth one week at a time.
Welcome to the 27th episode of the T-roh Show. This is your host, Keith, Stu, and Tony. Say hello, guys.
Good afternoon, folks.
Hello, everyone.
Okay, lot to talk about today. That's why we wait a week, because then we have a lot to talk about. If we did this every day, it'd be humdrum and pretty boring. So what we've got today is, first of all, we do hear some concerns about the volume of the program. When the program gets sponsors, we'll get better equipment. That's enough said there. Until we get sponsors, you got to turn your volume up and down. It is not our, in other words, my volume's up as high as it goes. So that's it. There's nothing more anybody can do about that. So if you have issues with it or whatever, just turn your volume up and down. Pretty simple. Okay, now, the people for the United States of America claimed free state status for the United States of America. People always say, what the hell does all that mean? There's a lot going on in this country. A lot of people don't see, don't understand what's happening. And we're going to try to explain a lot of that on today's program. I'm waiting for the thing to come up. Okay, so the United States is declared a free state. Now, the United States of America is declared a free state. Now, what does all that mean? Before, it was the 13 colonies were considered the free states. They turned into free states, and then came into a confederacy under the United States of America of 1781, and gave it certain sovereignty. That entity, certain sovereignty, so it could do international relations and all that. So the United States of Congress Assembly had to come together and blah 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 blah, and they would do their foreign business. Now it's kind of flip flop now, because the states are no longer really free states, but the United States of America is. So the United States of America is simply returning the favor. It was originally propped up by 13 original independent free states. Now it's returning that favor. Because, folks, the country is in trouble. Everybody knows that. I'm not trying to create an emergency here, but the country is in trouble. We're going to show you where it's coming from and why and how and all that, because a lot of people haven't heard that. So I'm just going to read this to you here. It says, the people for the United States of America hereby declare the United States of America a free state for the purpose of defining itself as a free country and free of despotism within the metes and bounds of its territory as defined within the Articles of Confederation as amended May 5th, 2015. The definition of a free state included, this is what everybody thought, the original 13 colonies and those states that did not include slavery within its law. So what that means is the original 13 colonies by the law of nations were considered free states. Then you move forward to the Civil War and the first Civil War, then there was free states and slave states. Okay, so that's what that originally meant. However, the 50 American states that became independent states derived from the status of the original 13 states have not operated as independent states and or free states since the inception of a foreign constitution and have not freed themselves from despotism for over 240 years. Now, what's that mean? The Constitution of the United States was a foreign constitution from Manhattan Island, the Dutch. That was back then. The Dutch bankers and the Dutch came in and put their constitution in there and took the states over, reversing the Revolutionary War. It only took them less than 12 years to get that done. So ever since then, if you go read the wording of the Constitution of the United States, it obviously creates a commander-in-chief over the states and giving the Dutch a president of the United States. They get the president of the United States, you get the commander-in-chief, which means that the Dutch, the citizens of the United States, are in perpetual military occupation of the states of the Union, because there's no provision in that same Constitution for a president of the United States of America, because there is no oath of office in that Constitution that creates a president of the United States of America. It's in words only. It doesn't mean that there is one. You're just saying there's one. Well, just because you say something doesn't make it true and doesn't make it real. You have to go back and look. And when did the people of the United States have the authority, which means the Dutch, where did they get the authority to establish and ordain a constitution for other states? There's no such thing. That would be like England saying, we, the people of England, hereby ordain a constitution for France. The French are they're gonna give the English the finger. Screw you, we'll do our own constitution. And as everybody has seen, despotism is rampant in the country. It's rampant. You don't know what despotism is? Look it up. The foreign constitution has within it wording and has been implemented to operate as a permanent military occupation of the United States of America. Your country, the United States of America, not lowercase t, uppercase T. The United States of America, your country, they've been militarily occupying, and you think that you're a citizen of the United States or a U.S. citizen, when that is foreign to this country.
The reality is they're in support of that occupation through behavior.
Absolutely. Says the foreign constitution further violates the law of nations due to the fact that a military occupation does not grant legal rights to the occupier to change the status of the people as one of its citizens. You can't do that, folks. A military cannot come into a country that had been established. The country was called the United States of America. It cannot come into a country that has been established, have a military occupation there, and then turn around, offer citizenship to them. Can't do that. Illegal as hell. And change the status of the whole country. You can't do that. It's been done, but it can't legally be done. Not under the law of nations, which is what the country was built on. So what about the states of the Union here? When the United States of America is considered a free state. And by the way, it is. It's been established, it's done. There's no arguing with this. The people have spoken that are for the United States of America. That's it. Accept it or walk away. That's the only choices you have. What about the states of the Union? The states of the Union are within the territory of the United States of America and will function as free states when ready and able. Otherwise, their independence will derive from the United States of America. So it's flip-flop. The United States of America used to have its independence derived from the 13 states. Now it's reversed. Until fully apprised of the law of nations and able to carry on their own international relations, the Union stays intact under the Articles of Association of 1774 as amended in the present time. Now, state simply meant, back from 1760 until today, it simply meant country. Free always meant free from despotism rather than some other country. And if you haven't looked up despotism yet, it just means free from dictatorship. That's all it is. Unchecked power, which is what's going on today. You got unchecked power. So the country is riddled with despotism. So now, therefore, with this declaration in mind, there are certain rights that accompany free states and shall be enforced by the government of the United States of America through legal and lawful means for the security of the next generation. We don't need to be doing this for ourselves. We need to be doing this for our children, because our children right now are screwed completely. And it's a multi-generational fault. Those from the 1900 till today, that generation is pretty much in fault of what's going on here. Okay, now, and it says, what does this mean? It says the definition of a state is defined in 1864 by the municipal government of the District of Columbia is hereby abolished within the United States of America and the states of the Union. The District of Columbia, folks, has always been a city-state. Washington, D.C., it's always been a city-state. It's always been, or has never been, a state. So in 1864, the Dutch go in and they change the definition of the District of Columbia, meaning the jurisdiction of the United States, to mean state. They didn't have a right to do that. It was never voted on. None of the other states said, okay, it's okay, you can join the Union. So they just kind of snuck in. And nobody knew the difference. The Charter of the Judges is hereby deported in accordance with the law of nations. That's in accordance with the law of nations. You can't blame the government of the United States of America for deporting the Charter of the Judges from a foreign country. Italy has no right to invade this country with a Charter of the Judges. None whatsoever, period. That there is no legal right to do that. There's no legal right to enforce there. The Pope was told under the Monroe Doctrine that if you come over here and get into any of the Americas, it's going to be war. I think it was done in 1816 or so. They were sick and tired of his crap back then, and now we're sick and tired of his crap again. Bringing all of this pedophile crap and all this other garbage coming from that cesspool called Vatican City. Nothing but a cesspool. If anybody doesn't know what a cesspool is, it's a big old pile of crap that stinks. Go ahead. I know you're trying to say something.
Oh, I was just going to say that sounds like a pretty accurate definition.
Yeah, because all the problems that come from them from the beginning. And it's just ridiculous. This declaration removes resident alien status under a foreign power from the people, thereby granting first in time, first in right status to choose their own status and destiny. Which means, if you were considered a U.S. citizen, told you were a U.S. citizen, and really we're going to prove what a U.S. citizen is today, because we got some stuff to talk to you about, you would realize that you've been a resident alien for a very long time. Meaning a resident of a foreign company doing business as a military-industrial complex, using you as cannon fodder to expand their international, supranational corporations to run other countries. You've been used like a hoe.
Say that again, because that's right on the button.
Okay. You've been told certain things. You were made a citizen of a foreign corporation to use you as cannon fodder to expand the supranational corporation's power overseas. How's that? Another way of saying it.
That's it.
In other words, you've been used like a hoe.
Been used and abused.
That's right. And in other words, this country's been used like the bunny ranch. They come in, do you, and leave. Got it? Used and abused.
Hosed and disposed.
All right. Okay. Hosed and disposed. All right. Now, number 4, lieutenancy of the Equestrian Order of the Holy Sepulchre of Jerusalem. Those fine, what do you call it, holy men are occupiers of a foreign country in direct conflict with the James Monroe Doctrine of 1823. That's right, it was 1823. And the law of nations, thereby implementing an illegal trade embargo against the national currency of the country. Okay, what that means is the illegal embargo is being implemented inside a box created on paper called a domestic jurisdiction and barring a national currency to be traded within it. This declaration holds the lieutenancy of the Equestrian Order of the Holy Sepulchre of Jerusalem liable for these damages against the United States of America. All right, okay, they created what they call a domestic jurisdiction. Folks, you had this is the real jurisdiction. You had county that were made up of the states. Okay, let's go even further than that. You had Mr. John Smith, who had the metes and bounds of his private property, which made up the county, which made up many counties, which made up the states, which made up the country, and then the seaward boundaries. In other words, it went 12 miles off the baseline. Baseline is where the waves come in and they hit the shore. That's the baseline. That's the waves from the ocean come in and hit the shore. So between the shoreline and the water is the baseline. Okay? Now, that's how the country's set up. That's how it always has been set up. But we've had to do some shifting here because these jerks come in and they say, well, we're going to make a domestic jurisdiction, and then we're going to make a local jurisdiction. Local is nothing more than a United Nations agency. It's something they created. Regions, that's something they created. That was created by the Luciferians. No such thing as a region. They just created that crap out of thin air.
And metro areas.
Yeah, metro areas. And they pushed that stuff through Metropolis, which was Batman, right?
Yep.
They put it right through Batman, and people started, the kids started thinking that Metropolis was okay because they were watching or reading the comics of Batman and watching the little shows that they made. And that's all that happened.
And now, because they're adults and they're still reading comic books, they think it's legitimate.
Yeah, comic books called NBC
Mm-hmm.
and CBS and CNN. So what they did was they created their own little jurisdiction there out of thin air. It was just all done on paper. And they call it local, state, and federal. And now they're moving slowly into regional. So what they're trying to do is make it metropolis, local, regional, to do away with the states.
Right. You're talking their language when you make references.
Implementing their agencies.
Right. So now we got this set up, right? Now people, you see what we're talking about, that they're changing the terms slowly. And now they got this big fight between the Democrats and the Republicans. The Republicans want their Constitution back. Well, if they say they want their Constitution back, that means they lost it.
Yeah.
That's implied and that's expressed. You lost your Constitution. So when you say that, you're automatically saying that the Republicans and Democrats don't have a Constitution, so how can they be Republicans and Democrats? They can't have a political party without a Constitution.
Yep, they can't operate.
So what are they operating under? They're not operating under anything. That's called despotism. There's no checks and balances for them. That's called despotism. You got Madonna over there saying, yes, I've thought of blowing up the White House. That's what Madonna says, okay? And really, who's going to take that thing serious, right?
Wow.
Okay. Go ahead. I just need to mute out quick. There's a lot of echo back there. And so Madonna goes and starts talking about this crap. Miss Pampered herself, okay? The woman, gets highly upset if she breaks a nail, folks. She's not going to blow up anything. She's just a mouthpiece. She's a puppet. She doesn't have a brain of her own, period. Okay? So you have that. You have, which is advocating for despotism. You've got all the stars advocating for despotism, unchecked power. You've got the what they call the left. Now it went from Republican, Democrat to the left and the right. So they've changed the name of their political parties. Now you have the left and the right. So that's how it's all working. That's a little bit of religion in there because I'm at the right hand of the Father. You start getting all this, understand all this symbolism and what they're actually doing. You've got Alex Jones on the right saying, we want our Constitution. We're a very calm people. We're this, we're that. We're going to get our 1776 back, which, by the way, Alex, your 1776 is already back. It's right here. Okay? So you don't have to fight for that anymore. It's already done. You have your national currency. That's already done. You have your jurisdiction. That's already done. You have your republic. That's already done. You have a working government that's had 2 elections and working on the 3rd one this coming up December. That's already finished. You have a legitimate court, General Postmaster Council and the Human Rights Tribunal. That's already done. You have a general post office, which has inheritable rights to the mail of the country that's being hijacked by USPS at the moment. That's already done. Now it's been declared a free state. That's already finished. And you got your country back. It even has a jurisdiction and has helped many people get their oath and affirmation done, their American national status done, and all that. We have a working court. We even have a working temple from the original jurisdiction all the way back to Genesis 1. It's already done. Everything that you're wanting and you're fighting for is already complete. All you have to do is claim it. You don't have to pick up a gun. You don't have to do anything.
And United States will never give it to you.
That's right.
Because they can't.
It's impossible to them. So the bottom line is this. Why is the left and the right, why is despotism being thrown out everywhere? And by the way, I believe, what was it, George Schwartz? And what was the original name of Pope Francis? I'll just say Pope Francis, whatever his original name, if you could look that up for me, please. – has been exiled from the reign of the heavens. They know that. They know what that is. They've purposely avoided it. They already know exactly what the reign of the heavens is. They've looked looked through the whole thing. But the reign of the heavens destroys every claim they had, so they've been ignoring it. That's why.
Pope Francis is Jorge Mario Bergoglio.
Well, that's a mouthful, ain't it?
I think I got Jorge right. Mario Bergoglio. Sorry about that.
Say that fast 3 times. So they've already been exiled from the reign of the heavens. They just got notice less than a minute ago. Now, to the populace, that's not going to mean anything because they have no clue what the reign of the heavens is. They still believe in Serapis Christus, okay? But we don't care what they know and what they don't know, because what they know and don't know has no bearing on the truth and has no bearing on what's going on. Because when you're under the deception like that, what you think doesn't really matter. So you got the left going for despotism. You have the right saying, we're going to retaliate if you don't stop attacking us. They even put a map on there that has 200 different attacks on people that support Trump. All this stuff going on, folks. You don't have a constitution because you said you lost it and you want your constitution back, so you've already admitted that it's been lost. And that's going around. So what are they getting ready to do? That's the whole thing. So if you attack, now what's going to happen is the left's going to attack the right, right's going to attack the left, and everything else. And this is what's really going on. You've got the sheriff's office, which used to be called the office of the sheriff under their original charter, but now there's sheriff's office, registered to do business in Delaware. Makes them a UN agency. You got all these United Nations agencies everywhere. You start attacking United Nations agencies, they're going to put United Nations troops on the street. That's how it works. And that's how you trick a country into destroying itself. Go ahead, Tony.
No, it's okay. Go ahead, Keith.
All right. So you've got United Nations agencies all over the country, in regions and in local governments. It was all set up from the beginning. You've got left and right attacking each other. You got despotism going everywhere. Guess what happens, folks? You don't have yourself a country. If you don't have a country, what has to happen? Oh, they must need our help. So the UN just jumps right in and they're going to take over. And they're going to give you, the correct constitution, and you're going to be for human rights. And boom, you got communists all over the place. Now you've got more despotism than ever before. It's going to get worse. First couple of days, they'll come in like heroes. After that, think about it.
The clampdown.
That's right. And the United States of America being declared a free state, I'm going to tell you the United Nations right now, what you're doing is illegal. We know it, and that's it. What you're doing is illegal. And we're going to get you after. We're going to let you take the steps. Our Human Rights Tribunal is coming after every one of you. Every one of you. We know what your communist picos are doing. And we're going to let you do it. And once you do it, now we've got proof. We don't really even need to go to trial, do we?
All the proof is there.
That's right. That's right. And that's what it's all about. It's not what happens. during. The only problem is you're going to think, "Ha, we got you. We're going to take the bait. We're going to move. We're going to move." But you don't think about what happens 2 weeks later and what your plans are. The United States of America has been declared a free state. That's it. You got no choice. Turn these states back into their original charters, because that's what you have to do under the laws of war. You start violating the laws of war, now you're war criminals. Once you're war criminals, now your lives are forfeit, and you know it. It ain't going to go as smooth as you thought.
They've been exposed.
Right, right. Now, let's get to the money. Back in the day, over in Europe, people didn't have last names. What they had was Yahushua of Nazarene, which everybody else will recognize that as Jesus of Nazareth. Nazareth wasn't his last name. He was a citizen of Nazareth. The city was the last name of people. They usually just had a first or a middle name. And the reason why they had a middle name is they had to add in, if you had 15 Johns, you got to have John this, John that, because nobody knows the difference between them. So your last name that you see as a last name today, your last name was the city name or where you came from, where you had citizenship. And that's when they claimed you as a son or a daughter. So back in the day, when monarchs would create cities, they would make you a son or a daughter of that city so they could keep you subjected, whether you went to that city or not. That was what that was all about. It's usually where you were born. That happened for years. Okay? You had when you came over here, okay, when they call the new America, you know, there's a new land and everything, the people knew that that's how the monarchs operated. So what they did was they started giving people last names of what they did, like carpenter, they were carpenter, smith, if they were a smith, gunsmith or whatever. If they built things, it was usually their trade name. They still just used their first and middle names as their actual name. Their last name was the trade name. So since they had changed, they changed their policy and tactics to say that the king could now tax trade and commerce. That's where the taxes came from today. Now, where all this started was on the all cap name thing was, oh, that's a person, that's this, that's that. There's been 1,000 theories on it. Most of them are ridiculous as hell on the theories. But the all cap name really had nothing to do with anything. And then people will come up with the military manual as if we don't know, okay? It's funny, they come to us as if we don't know about any of this and start trying to teach us stuff that we've known back since the 90s. How do you think you rebuild a country and not knowing all that stuff? That's crazy. So they try to, you know, don't you know what they're doing in the banks? Don't you know what they're doing here? Don't you, you know, and they try to teach us stuff. It's like, you guys just learned this stuff 3 years ago. Be quiet. We know. That's how you set up a lawful treasury and a whole system. So anyway, the whole all cap name thing came in by, I don't remember the guy's name, but it was in the 90s. And what he did was he partnered up after this particular episode I'm about to tell you about. He partnered up with the guy that was in Every Which Way But Loose. He was a movie star, and they started pushing juror societies. Every Which Way But Loose was Clint Eastwood, Right Turn Clyde. If anybody hasn't seen it, go watch it. It's hilarious. But he was the head of the biker gang. Okay, and he was always after Philo Beto. So he partnered up with this other guy that went into a courtroom, and it was in an IRS case. And this is how the whole thing started. The whole all cap name thing started. He walks in there and says, Your Honor, do you mind if I speak? And Your Honor, the judge says, go ahead. Federal judge. He says, go ahead. He goes, okay, I've looked at the style of the case, and I noticed that my name is spelled capital this, capital this, capital this, capital this, capital this. And my family name is capital this, capital this, capital this. Okay? He went through that whole scenario. It took him like a minute and a half, 2 minutes. And he turns around and says, however, my name is spelled uppercase this, lowercase da 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 da, uppercase this, lowercase da 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 da, and my family name is uppercase this, da 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 da, okay? Lowercase the rest. So now it's a pronoun. So the judge looks at him, he looks at the prosecutor and says, it seems that we have a case of mistaken identity here. You're free to go. Since this guy was concentrating on the all caps, he thought that if he separated himself from the all cap name, that he would be free, that's how they're holding you. That's how he interpreted what the federal judge was saying in the 90s. That's how he interpreted it. That's not what was going on. You have to remember that the judge there goes by Europe and trade names. IRS only has jurisdiction over trade names and commerce names. So when he distinguished his name as a family name and not a trade and commerce name, the IRS lost jurisdiction. And they had a case of mistaken identity. This man wasn't a trade or a business. That's what was going on. It had nothing to do with the style, meaning it had nothing to do whether it was all caps, all lowercase, upper and lowercase. All that was all BS. It was about whether his name or family name was redefined as a family name and not a trade or commerce name. That's how it operated. Okay, so you have to go back to the history of these guys and how they operate, what they say and what they do. Okay, so this has prompted the Private Membership Association Classification Act of 2017. The subject matter of the act for the United States, the current United States in Congress assembled, is the definition of the family name. It's a style and definition of the family name. The regulations are classification of the last name, surname, and by name as non-commercial, non-trade, non-political, non-religious, non-spiritual identity. The definitions is the last name, surname, and or by name is a pronoun, thereby not to be defined as not an adjective or verb by non-members. Okay, what do we mean by non-members? The aforementioned pronoun is a private membership association, whereby the membership is by way of inheritance, bloodline, and heredity. And the style of the pronoun, with the intent to change its definition, is notwithstanding, unless redefined by the members for specific purposes and scope for the benefit of the members. Which means the clerk cannot convert the family name into a trade or business name to be traded on the stock market.
Wouldn't that be a felony conversion of the record?
I believe that would be, yes. To convert something into a trade name. All members shall enjoy the benefit of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights to enforce its shelter from the laws of war. Because commerce, folks, in accordance to the Dutch, because they are just such wonderful people and such a peace-loving people in their peace city, believe that the laws of war apply in commerce. and business. So from this day forward, upon this act, all names in this country are considered family names, unless those family members redefine it for a specific purpose as a business or trade name for their benefit and not the benefit of stockholders that they've never even met before. So that ends that whole quagmire, messed up confusion about the all cap name and the upper and lowercase name and the all lowercase name. Yes, we've read the military style manual and all this other crap, because all that was put in there to keep you away from the fact that your family name has been turned into a trade and commerce name so that your family name can be traded on the stock market, and it makes the stock market look like it has more assets than it actually does. Any comments, guys?
No, you pretty much said it all. I found the gentleman. I believe his name is Quaid, John Quaid.
That's right. That's it. That's his name. I remember now. I talked to that guy. He's funny. He's a good man. He's the one that started the Jural societies, or actually went with this other guy to start the Jural societies. And he's a tough old bird, man. They started messing with his wife one time. He went down there and called the deputy out. He says, "You want to mess with your wife? You want to mess with my wife? You come mess with me first. Let's go outside." The guy just sat there and shook. He's a pretty intimidating dude. But he's a good man. He's a good family man. And he meant well. He did the Jural societies, and he was really pushing them. And all that happened back in the 90s, folks. We learned about this a long time ago, and there's been nothing but pure lying ever since about the all-cap name. It was just the way that they interpreted the whole interaction in that courtroom. And the judge was pretty slick about it. He just says, "Oh, it looks like we have a case of mistaken identity. You're not a trade name. Hello? You're not a business." So in that case, IRS doesn't have jurisdiction. We don't have jurisdiction to what do you call that? Trade or invest in families. Oh, that would be called human trafficking. And that would be called slavery. Can't do that. So we'll just convert it into a trade or business name. And sparked the individual income tax return. Then they come back, "I'm not the person." Well, you just gave up all your rights when you said that. The person is defined as the family or natural person, and it has to be a trade or business name. Since somebody's cooking the books, that's all that's happening. And that's why Mr. Monroe back in 1823 said, "If you bring your butts back here, there's going to be war." We all knew it was coming from the Vatican. Everybody knew it back then, and they know it today. You got the Dutch and the Vatican all working together. It's a mess over there, a complete mess. And they have people so twisted up, it's unbelievable. And then they're going to usher in, after they do that, the UN comes in and saves America, okay? Then they're going to usher in the New World Order, and it's going to be wonderful, and everybody's going to be free. And they don't have any obligations until the world tax comes in. That's when it comes in, the world tax. And then, since we don't have any borders, we're going to have all this violence. So I guess we got to chip people now and track their every move. And then the whole world will turn into a massive communist socialist system where all you have to do is contribute to society and you get free crap. When the bottom line is this: none of this has to happen. None of it has to happen. You know why you don't have interest-free currency? It's because you don't demand it. What you demand is interest currency, which is usury, and that comes with a buttload of obligations, especially political obligations and political decisions. They even attach political decisions to their money. You demand it. I've seen the new currency. I've had it in my hand. It's called the Continental Dollar. Beautiful stuff. Beautifully done. And it's national currency. Why isn't it? And this is what I know what's happening. Okay, I know what's going on because there were some other people. There was a guy that was making a coin. What you think is this? You think if you start investing in the Continental Dollar, you think 2 years from now that the feds will come in and take it. That's what you think. We've been doing this for 7 years. Seven years, folks. We stick with the law. We stick with the law of nations. We stick with international law. There's no reason to come in and take it unless you want to expose who you really are. But that's what you're afraid of. And we know that. But if that's what you're afraid of, what makes you think you're going to be able to sit there and fight a civil war when the bullets start flying? If you're afraid of somebody coming in and taking your money, then what makes you think you're going to fight a civil war? The first bullet that flies, gone.
Yeah.
You're hiding in the bathroom.
Yep.
Until the bullets stop flying. If you're afraid of that little thing, then, man, you got a whole lot more problems than we need to deal with,
That should put things into perspective.
Yeah. Because they come take it, it's insured. Don't worry about it. We just replace it. And guess what? Now they've stolen national money, which that's some serious crimes. Then the King of the Netherlands gets a phone call for international crimes. Then we pop on international money laundering on him and everything else. The problem is you demand a foreign currency over your own country's currency. You become an enemy of your own country. And that was planned specifically for you to become an enemy of your own country. And your thinking and your beliefs and your preaching and your philosophies and all this other kind of crap.
They've been programmed,
Mm-hmm.
indoctrinated and programmed. They do and say exactly what the Netherlands and the Pope want them to say and do. Day after day, week after week, year after year.
That's right, because we could sit there and say this, and then they're going to come back and go, well, reality is, so we're not saying reality, but they're in reality, right? Is that what we're dealing with here? So they're in reality. They're attacking their own country, and they're attacking each other, and they're in reality.
Mm-hmm.
Seriously, that's reality. Despotism, folks. You've had a movie star or a comedian hold up the bloody head of a president of a company. We're going to just call it a company here because we know the truth, okay? But the rest of the people think he's a government. Yeah, government, foreign government. And she doesn't get arrested. Then turns around and blames him for it.
Yeah. And you can build off of that too. I'm in my 50s, And the honest truth is, I'm hard pressed to name anybody of significance in their political apparatus that's been arrested in the last 2 decades. Can anybody name, one or two people of significance, that carried a national name that actually got arrested?
Oh yeah, think about it, man. You've had the same people there for the last 30 to 40 years.
Mm-hmm.
The exact same people. That's called a communist regime.
We constantly see headlines. We constantly hear speeches. We constantly hear talk show radio and television programs about how they're going to get this guy and they're going after this guy. But Eric Holder never got arrested.
Nope. That's called despotism, unchecked power.
Nobody ever pays the price.
You've got a play up in New York, Stu. A play up in New York that every night symbolizes and plays out the stabbing of Trump.
Oh yeah. I read about that the other day. The Caesar thing. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And nobody gets arrested. Nothing happens. And when that happens, folks, that's called a plan. That's reality. That's called somebody manipulating the crap out of you. It's saying it's okay to hurt and shoot and kill people because they want it all to blow up so the great and wonderful United Nations can come in and create peace. And you see why we don't have nationalism, why nationalism is so horrible, why being proud of your own country, why having a country starts wars and it all falls apart and blah, blah, blah. It's evil. That's what they're doing. This is evil, self-projecting evil. They're evil on you. Colin, what you believe in is evil. The only thing we have in common with most of the people in this country is we want our country. And we have our country. They may not have it, but we have it.
Yeah.
What's that, Tony?
I was going to say that we have our country.
Right. And they don't have one, but they're wanting one. Well, it's right here, folks. It's raped online, government of the United States of America, .international, spelled out. Go over there, take a look. You can have your government. You can have your country.
The foundation and the groundwork has already been done. Everything is already in place.
All you got to do is work it and help out. You got to help out because, believe me, you got to help out. There are not enough people in this country that are demanding the rightful currency that they owe or that's owed them. They're not demanding it. What they're doing is, well, this guy won't take it. Okay, no problem. Boycott his ass. They'll take it after a while. Boycott the companies and won't take it. You take a national currency or get your sorry asses out of here. Get your supranational companies the hell out of here and go somewhere else. And quit using us like a dried up whore to fill your pockets. Because you ain't helping anybody. Everybody see the stock market? That thing is inflated over the hilt, man. It's a 21,000. That's so inflated, it's unbelievable. You know what it's supposed to be? About 4,000. That's where it's supposed to be. They have it so inflated, it's unbelievable. It's getting ready to go. A national currency is in place. But what is it? We need help. Not help in, we need your help. We're not talking about that. We need assistance. We need people to get more of the national currency out there so that we don't have to put up with commies coming in, taking over, because they set it up to where everybody's in violence and civil war so that they can come in as the messiahs of the world and usher in their New World Order crap, which legalizes pedophilia, which means now your children can get the men can have sex with children, women can have sex with children, and you can't do a damn thing about it. They can rape your son or daughter on the way to school. There's nothing you can say about it. No recourse whatsoever. And now you got a messed up kid, man. All messed up in the head. It's got to do psychological evals for freaking years because they're all messed up in the head. That's like having a wife that was raped. She's messed up, man. She'll never get over that. Why? Because the rapists go free instead of getting killed for what they're doing. Now this guy has got a messed up wife. He's got to deal with his crap for years because she's messed up in the head. Not a mother anymore. She's not a wife anymore. She's a rape victim. People don't see the seriousness of it. Go ahead, Stu.
I was just I was thinking about, your example of the rape, and would the king of Denmark, if he heard family, immediate family got raped, would that person, get cut loose?
I doubt it.
I doubt it. I think they'd be, drawn and quartered probably as an example. You see, people have to think about what they're actually living through here. The illusion is more than just money. It's law and order. It's propaganda. It's news. It's thought. It's an unbelievable situation, really.
Of how twisted something can turn into.
Yeah, and they layer it and layer it and layer it generation after generation. They got a big head start. We're doing a great job, but folks, you got to get serious. You got to get serious.
Yeah, you got to get serious about your future and your family. You got to get serious about what's right and what's wrong. And going around and doing rallies, it's doing nothing more than, it's not doing anything really, because your status is not correct. You're fighting for the very people that are trying to destroy and kill you.
Well, if you think about it, rallies are really more of a temper tantrum. After so much complaining, I say after so much complaining, it turns into whining. And when you don't get what you want when you whine, you throw a temper tantrum and you throw yourself in the middle of the street and you block traffic or you protest. But it doesn't do anything to bring a solution to the problem. Everybody knows, everybody feels something is wrong. Everybody knows it and everybody feels it. But instead of complaining about the situation that you're in, turn it around and see how you can bring a solution, because that's what it takes. Otherwise, it's just complaining, whining, temper tantrums, and it just demonstrates that you're not grown up enough to handle your own affairs. So for this to get going, for what you want to happen, for it to happen, you have to get up off your chair. You have to start demanding that the continental dollar is accepted, the national currency is accepted. You have to, read, you have to research, you have to know the situation that you're in so that you can really see what's happening and then move on it and bring solutions instead of just complaints.
All right, let's get to the on that note. All right, let's go to a scenario of civil war. Okay, that's what happens when you pull a bullet in somebody. You smell their blood. When you start smelling their blood, that smells different. You don't ever forget that smell. If you're out in that field for 2-3 days, you got dead people around you, that starts stinking. That smells bad. Because most people, when they die, they crap themselves. They smell like urine and crap. 2 or 3 day old urine and crap. And you're in that. You're smelling death, folks. These are your neighbors. These are your friends. You're going to lose people like you've never seen. So when you start talking about civil war, we're going to fight. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. I'm talking about both sides. I'm not talking about left or right. I'm talking about both, all you people, just people themselves. Think about it. Because once it starts, the hurt feelings start. Once the hurt feelings start, then the revenge starts. Then it gets vengeful and it gets nasty. And you're not going to know people anymore. And you don't want to know that. There were, I don't know how many people, 650,000 that died in the Revolutionary War. I think there were over 800,000 or 1 million that died in the Civil War. It smells, folks. It's nasty. And you're going to puke. And then what's going to happen is your heart's going to turn to ice. Because you're murdering each other. You've all turned into murderers. That's what it does. I'm not saying that sometimes you have to fight. I'm not a wuss, okay? I'm not saying that sometimes you have to defend yourself. A burglar comes into your house, you shoot him, that's the way it is. You maybe not wanted to do it, but you had to do it. That's different. That's a different kind of thing. That's understandable. Self-defense, that's a different kind of thing. When you talk about civil war, that gets nasty. Go look at Syria. They're in a civil war right now. Go watch all the videos on it and see if you want to be involved in that. It can go on for years. And it's nasty.
And and think about what you'd be, what is it that you'd really be fighting for? Their perception of society. Not anything of substance, not anything meaningful, nothing to do with the real country. So you'd be fighting an illusion, for a warped idea. Crazy.
Yeah, it is. All right, on that note, I guess we can go ahead and complete the 27th episode or broadcast of the t-roh show. We do appreciate all of the subscriptions. They do not go unnoticed. And we appreciate all the listens and the questions and comments that we've had on the programs. And thank you for listening to the t-roh show. You want to say goodbye, fellas?
Thanks for stopping by, folks.
Talk to you next week, everyone.